Hey, this is Isaac. I'm not available. Just kidding. Just kidding. Don't hang up.
Yeah, I was like, when the voicemail came on, I was like, dang, I gotta call Avery anyway. Let me get out.
I got you. You didn't even give me time to say just kidding. You were like, whoop.
And I was like, all right, he busy. Let me call Avery real quick.
Oh man, I actually got some free time today. I used some of my vacation hours to get out of work today because I got this email this morning to go see the Power Rangers first trailer.
Oh, what?
It was pretty dope. It was pretty dope. I gotta say, if it doesn't feel like the TV show and the movies, which was good because they need to actually reboot this in its entirety. And I was kind of worried about it since, you know, they got the same producers behind this movie as the last one, Saban or whatever. I will say that it's like a mix of Guardians of the Galaxy meets Transformers meets Hunger Games. I think that's the route they're going, and it's more military driven.
Well, I'm not mad at it. I really, like, I was never super big on Power Rangers.
Me neither. That's the thing. That's why, like, I look at it objectively.
There's some people that hate it, and I never hated it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the original movie, and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like, I didn't own it, but, like, I went to see it in the theater, and I didn't hate it. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you something, though, Mott. How come your boy Ivan Ooze was selling lean to the kids in the first movie?
Yo,
You selling that purple drink.
Yo, look, man. Ivan, you know what I'm saying? Look, just because he's been asleep for a long time, don't mean that, you know, he can't, you know what I'm saying? Mean he can't get in the game like that.
I always like to say that if Apocalypse was buried in Detroit, he would wake up as Ivan Ooze.
Oh, that's cold.
I'm just fucking.
Yo, man, that movie, that's the most mixed bag movie.
Yeah,
like
that movie was so bad, even the soundtrack made me wheezy. Like, I remember the song from it, Uh-Oh, We're in Trouble. I'm like, oh, man, this whole movie is doo-doo. But as a kid, you watch those movies with, like the high beams on, and you can't really differentiate good from bad. Like, an example I give is Batman and Robin. When I watched that movie as a kid, I looked at it as, oh, this was a fun movie. But when you get older, you realize that sometimes fun means shit.
Yeah. Oh, also,
Yep.
Since while we're talking, that X-Men though, oh boy,
You had problems with.
I'll say this. I'm gonna say this. I think Bryan Singer has had his turn. He's made 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah, he needs to stop because he's too tired. He's done.
He's done his run, and I'm glad he's done what he's done. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not saying whether I'm happy or sad with the movies. I've let that go.
You're neutral.
But I do think it's time to move on to someone else.
Word. Like I said in my review, it's one of those movies you'll have a fun time with, but if you're basically going to compare it to, you know, the upscale movies like Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, or even, I would go as far as The Dark Knight, or, you know, Days of Future Past, you're going to be disappointed, because with this movie, you can definitely see that Bryan Singer, he's exhausted. The dude's already done, like you said, 3 to 5 movies already. And, you know, typically when you actually working on a franchise, you don't want to stay along on that franchise for too long. Otherwise, you'll get wear and tear, kind of like with Sam Raimi and Spider-Man.
Also because it's not like he was making the best X-Men movies in the first place.
No. Exactly. It's like they're X-Men movies, but they're definitely not like the comic book movie or comic books that we know and love. He will basically take inspiration from it, but like obviously the characters ain't like what I know the characters could be. Yeah. We haven't really gotten like an official X-Men movie, just good movies from Bryan Singer's perspective.
We need to get together and what I was really hitting you up for is we need to get together. When we going to get together and tear Independence Day apart?
I actually just spoke to a couple of dudes. I was going to post my Independence Day review up day before yesterday, but NDA, we can't talk about it until I think 2 weeks before the movie come out. But that still gives us enough time to actually create something. And we could probably just record all our footage or whatever and put that together now.
I was about to say, I signed that.
Yeah, shit, I did. I signed an NDA. I saw it, so don't get my ass.
I'm not considered press yet.
Shit, yeah.
I'm not considered press yet.
Yeah, I'm not even. It wasn't a press screening when I went to either. It was a test screening, but they still made me sign the NDA though. So.
Oh yeah, they made me. Because I remember I had a touch screen. Did I sign anything?
Some you do. It all depends on who basically is facilitating it. If you go through GoFugle, you don't have to worry.
I remember signing that I wasn't pressed.
Oh, okay, okay. Did you read that full thing though? Because there's like a disclosure on there too.
Oh, I'll take.
Yeah, you didn't read the whole thing, did you?
Nah, because I mean, basically, I was like, well, what does this mean? She was like, well, this is, you know, whether you're pressed or not. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm not pressed. Mm-hmm. So I let it, you know, I left it at that. I was like, cool,
and that's why I like being a YouTube pundit. And here's why: we got the perfect opportunity to see movies because, let's be real, if you were pressed, we wouldn't be able to see half of the screenings that we're seeing currently. Nope. Because, you know, they're Associated Press and they actually get their schedule and time to see these movies. We basically are better than press because we get to see them months before they even come out, if not better. So let's basically not try to become press. Keep on doing what we're doing so we can get all these spoils before the press.
Yeah, because I'm actually getting what is it? I'm getting like mad props and love up on my page. Like as far as like people sending me like Facebook messages and stuff.
I'm like, dude, that is freaking awesome. But the beauty of what we're doing is we don't even have to worry about all the headaches that press actually endure because we don't have all like the baggage to it. Like when we basically talk about these movies, we can actually go full force if we wanted to with spoilers. Press don't even have that luxury because, you know, they got to go by, you know, the format that, you know, their purists go by. There's no strings on us. And that's why we're going to be like, I can already see our formats. We're going to be like the NWA of movie watching because we ain't got no rules.
Yeah, because like, I got some stuff to record today. I'm going to talk about Ghostbusters. I'm going to talk about X-Men. And like the way I'm doing my format is like, I mean, you've seen some of my Respond React, which is a play on an old Root song.
Yeah.
And it's funny because only like music heads be like, yo, is Respond React from the Root? Like, yep, it's from the Root. Like, take it back to Respond React to this. But like, anyway, like I've set up my format where it's like, yo, I'm talking about the movie, but I'm not really like, I'll give you like, yo, I like this part. This part wasn't good, but I try to keep it like a little more laid back.
Yeah. You know
it
doesn't. I don't want mine to ever come off as like professional. Because let's be real, there's a lot of professional movie critics and even movie bloggers and YouTube channels on the net. I just want mine to come off as organic, as if I'm just talking to a brother about the movie. Sometimes I'll give spoilers, sometimes I won't. But that's what we need to do to connect to our audience. Because if you haven't already noticed, there's an oversaturated market for comic book movies and just the whole medium in general. So what we got to do is bring something different to the table.
The thing is, the market really isn't oversaturated. But the thing is, they put them all out at once. Think about it. We've had Deadpool, BVS, Civil War, and now X-Men, and then we're going to get, Suicide Squad.
And we got Doctor Strange coming out too. Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So 6 movies. In the course of the year, 6 movies isn't a lot.
Yeah.
The problem is they want to put them all out in the summer.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Summer's the issue now because December is the new stopping ground.
In the case of a year is not a lot.
Yeah. Spring and
summer. I guess you could consider. Oh, excuse me. I guess you could consider Turtles because it was a comic book first, but most people know it as an animated series.
Yeah.
So I guess you could consider Turtles. So 7, but 7 still. When there's like approximately 2,000 films that come out a year. Mm-hmm. Well, all right, let's see. Wide release. Well,
wide release we're looking at between 900 to not 900, about 700 to 800 wide releases because a lot of them are limited to indie. But
so even that's still 1% of the movie.
But you got to be careful though, because let's be real. If you actually have 3, let's say you have 3 comic book or just basically blockbuster tentpoles in the month of June. If you put if 3 different studios put their movies out in June, the problem and the thing they'll face is cannibalization. You know, because one movie is stepping on the other movie's toes, so the movies won't make as much as they would have if there was no competition against them. And that could be a problem because a lot of these studios rely on these tentpoles to make money from the losses that they actually suffered with their indies and, you know, less like the mid-level budget movies, you know?
Yeah, which is why I was kind of upset that Star Wars said it was going to move to May again. Because I was like, yo, you know what? I kind of like.
I liked the December because it wasn't basically.
It's like you get a Star Wars Christmas gift every year.
Yeah, and it was also counterintuitive to like the indie movies because you know Star Wars was a movie where okay, it's the only movie that's a Blockbusters playing, but if it's sold out, you still got a lot of good choices to pick, like the Oscar-worthy movies or the movies that's like counterintuitive. Like last year, the comedies came out next to Star Wars, like Sisters, and that was actually really good counter programming because when you got a blockbuster that sells out on so many screens, you also want to have like a second pick. And by putting your movies out in December, especially if you're doing like a lot of holiday shopping, it's more logical to actually put a movie like that on that date. And that's why I'm with you. I don't feel that Rebel 1 is going to be in Christmas, I think. But the next Star Wars, you said, it's going to be in spring.
Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One. I'm saying Rebel 1. I'm thinking of Rebels now. But Rogue One is in December. I really hope that they move Star Wars back to December. I don't care if it's going to be a little bit longer of a wait. The format, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And what they currently doing, especially with this new era we live in, it's probably the best way to approach it.
Yeah, I definitely like the whole, like, you know, kind of idea, like, yo, I get a Star Wars Christmas gift every year.
Yeah. You know we're spoiled. You know that, right? We're spoiled. We not only do we get Star Wars, we get a comic book, like at least 2 comic book movies a year, plus a villain movie, plus a turtle movie, plus a time travel movie, plus indie movies, plus remakes, plus rebooted television shows, plus Netflix original movies, plus Netflix original Marvel movies, plus Netflix original television movies, plus video games, plus dude, if you would actually talk to, like, if we had a time machine and we went back to like 1995 or 94 when we were kids and we had to explain all this stuff to our children or like to ourselves as kids, we would pee our pants.
I'd be like, dude, I would just go back and be like, look, hold on. I know people are clowning you and stuff, but hold on. This stuff
it's going to be better. This shit is going to basically drive the economy.
Yeah. And I mean, people are like, man, like, oh, superhero fatigue, but it's like, you realize the Blockbuster is always going to exist.
Yeah.
This just happens to be...
This is the new Blockbuster.
It just happens to be comic books. If it wasn't comic books, it would be something else.
Because, like, in the 90s, our blockbusters were sci-fi action movies. And in the 2000s, they became comic book movies. And in the 2010s, they're still comic book movies. We basically are just been living off of a genre without the use of fatigue for the last almost 20 years now. And it's great because the way you actually keep a movie genre, like a subgenre, you know, relevant and fresh, is by actually doing new things with it. And that's why Marvel's so great, because not only are they doing comic book movies, but they're mixing up the subgenres. Like, you get comic book thrillers now, you get comic book sci-fi movies, you get comic book comedies. But that's where I think X-Men is suffering. You notice the trend? It feels just like a comic book movie, but it's not much to it. Whereas if you look at Days of Future Past, it was a comic book science fiction movie.
Well, nah, they had a chance. That whole, the issue with Magneto was interesting. Nothing else was interesting.
No. It was like the stakes were too high, and like a movie that kind of promised on delivering total world annihilation did not deliver. And I feel that Apocalypse, Oscar Isaacs didn't get enough to work with his role because, for one, he was immersed in too much makeup, and for two, he didn't feel diabolical. When you actually put him against the group of his 4 horsemen, and the nigga's the shortest one of the bunch, you know you're gonna have a few problems.
Also, his storyline was way too truncated.
Yeah,
Apocalypse is not a villain that you can make in one movie.
You're gonna need to split that up into 2. It could have been like Empire Strike Back. You basically do the introduction with the first movie, wrap it up with like a little Hunger Game end where, you know, basically the missiles are launched, and then you just basically cut from there. That's your first movie, and then you can establish the characters for the X-Men in the second one.
You can do a trilogy called Age of Apocalypse.
Damn, exactly. You know, but they can't do that now because Bryan Singer dropped the ball.
You know what I'm saying? You got a situation where they're fighting against against only the 4 horsemen.
Yep.
And don't really even know who they are. They're just, it's like these 4 new mutants that are extremely powerful. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And we don't know what's up.
Dude.
And then in the second movie, you actually find out who Apocalypse is. And then in the third movie, you get to like wrap him up, or he leaves or something for some other reason, because you don't want to kill him, because you want him to always be a looming threat, like he might return.
Yeah, you don't kill off your biggest thing. That's like killing off the Joker in the first movie. I'm sorry, Tim Burton, you did a good job with that movie, but man, you killed off the Joker. But here's how I see it. I would have preferred, like as with you, a trilogy with Age of Apocalypse, but you got to tie in, the new existing franchises with the old. Otherwise, because it's already convoluted as it is. So you start with...
But you have the time travel that you could do that with.
You could. Exactly. That's why I was going to bring into... You would do Age of Apocalypse Part 1, okay? And then you basically... I would have basically took out Psylocke as one of his Four Horsemen and basically put Wade Wilson from the 80s and 90s of Weapon X. I would have put a Wade Wilson in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the worst actress out of all of the Four Horsemen?
Yeah, Olivia Munn.
I'm sorry,
the worst. Man, I already knew she was going to be the worst because look, the best thing she's ever done was G4 TV, and that was like 20 years ago almost.
Oh yeah, that's true.
She still haven't got like a movie that can hold her.
Now, to her credit, outside of the movie, I gotta give her props for pimping this whole like I'm a girl and I'm a nerd thing. Like she's definitely a nerd, and she's really a good she's better utilized as a like a TV personality, kind of like Mario Lopez in Entertainment Tonight. Yeah. She should be like the spokesperson for nerd rapping. But honestly, she went 110% with the choreography and the fighting, but the girl can't act. She's not that much of an actor. Well, also the fights were weak.
Yeah, you kind of expect more. It was CGI-ish. It was cartoonian.
Everything was weak. Like everything was weak. Here's the only thing that matters. The like first 10 minutes that we got with Magneto, and then Quicksilver's quick little second. And then
with Sweet Dreams, the You're the Mythics plan. The Weapon X scene was good. The thing that actually made this movie fresh for me was obviously Quicksilver, how they implemented him again, even though it was a rehash from the first one. I did actually like Magneto, even though I kind of wish they would have explained, centered around him being more of the villain, and maybe Apocalypse would have been a side villain when he was actually, because he could have been the main villain if this was a trilogy. You have Magneto as the first one, and basically Apocalypse is basically having his Four Horsemen wreak the destruction, because you don't want to blow your load too soon. And I think with Age of Apocalypse, or the X-Men Apocalypse, they blew their load too soon with Apocalypse by not having him basically, run the show from a distance. He was already out in the opening.
And the main thing is, when it comes to since these movies have pretty much become episodes on film.
Yeah.
Like, whenever it comes to like a TV episode, whenever I'm watching it, I'll even tell like my wife, I'll be like, "Yo, look, what did we learn from this episode? Did we learn anything?"
Yeah.
Like, think about it. What did we learn in the X-Men?
We learned how we only learned the hows, but we didn't learn anything morally. We learned how Xavier lost his hair. We learned how how Apocalypse almost destroyed the planet. But other than that, we also learned that every single movie the mansion explodes, and that's what Deadpool was referencing from the first movie. But other than that, we didn't learn anything that was philosophical, and that's what we were kind of hoping with this movie. Since in Days of Future Past, we learned about be careful what you change. If you step on one thing, you could change everything. It was more like high focus and more concept. This movie was more action driven, and it basically didn't take itself too seriously, and that's where I think a lot of the fans will be disappointed at.
Yeah, and like they should be disappointed, because when we see the Russos handle characters, because I'm not even talking about comic books, I'm talking about just characters and their relationships with each other.
The Russos basically understand that.
Then you have to look at X-Men and be like, nah, bro, that's why I gave that joint a 5. I gave that joint 2.5 stars. I gave it a 5. People were like, man, because I was like, you know what, this joint might be able to get a 6. Yeah. Then I thought about it, I was like, by the time I got home, this joint was a 5. And I was about to go lower, but I was like, you know what? That's just being me.
I gave it a solid 7. But I know the secret to basically making a comic book movie. And it's basically, I'm a futurist, because I look at the past and basically look at what worked in the past and what can work in today's standard. For a long time, a lot of people didn't realize this, but comic book movies were stagnated from like the mid-70s to the early 80s. And it was only when Frank Miller came in, did The Dark Knight Returns, and basically injected darkness into comic book movies, where other comic book artists and writers took the premise seriously and started creating dark stuff of their own, and it worked from the mid 80s to the early 90s. What we need is somebody who basically understands what the Russo brothers can do. Look at these movies, it's not just like as comic book movies, but just look at them as characters in the storyboard, and basically just make the best movie. Don't worry about all the source material with the comic book movies. You take what you can because you're adapting something. You don't have to go.
Yeah, because the source material isn't as important as the character material.
Exactly.
What I mean by the character material is Superman needs to feel like Superman to me. If he doesn't feel like Superman to me, then this isn't
not
a Superman movie.
Yeah, Superman does not mope. Superman is the light. He's hope. If you don't have that hope, you don't have you don't even have the ingredients to create Kal-El. And that's one of the things I was kind of disappointed with on Batman, Superman.
We never got that. And like for a second we were like, well, maybe we're gonna get it. You know, maybe we're gonna get it with maybe we're gonna get it with the second movie.
Yeah.
And we did. And then you have all these DC fanboys talking about, well, Civil War is the same movie. No, it's not.
No. Well, Civil Wars basically have the same structure, but it has more character growth and development. Each character basically plays a part, and each character is like grounded in a reality which you can actually relate to more as an individual, not only as a fan, but you can actually see this high concept movie come into life in your own world. And that's how you make a movie. If you have a comic book source material, and you can actually come out of that movie thinking, okay, I can actually see this happening in our real world. You got yourself a comic book movie. Batman vs. Superman, I cannot see anybody like Lex Luthor basically coming up to me with that kind of ambience. I can't see a mopey Superman like that in this kind of world. It just doesn't make sense. It's like they're trying to like a lot of these other properties and studios are trying to reverse engineer the formula, where what they basically need to be reverse engineering is character growth with like the Russo.
It's crazy because you like sit there and you watch it and you're like, dude, this is not the same. These are not the characters that we know.
Yeah.
And
we just need fresh eyes on it, because I haven't given up hope. I mean, there was times where we could have gave up hope on X-Men after X-Men 3, but you get a certain writer or director in there, you can basically you can fix a franchise. It's going to take a lot of time now since they've already dug themselves in a hole a little deeper, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, that's why like Suicide Squad. And I said this a long time ago. Mm-hmm. When they announced both of those movies, I was like, after this, I was talking to Chris. I was like, what happens if Batman and Superman is bad and Suicide Squad is good?
Suicide Squad is good. It's better, but it doesn't feel like it actually fits with this whole world that Zack Snyder has already created. And that's going to be a problem with the fans. I can already say that in August.
Well, the thing is, it might not, because the fans don't like the world he created. The fans might actually turn on it and be like, David Ayer is our guy. Get Zack out of here.
But that's a problem, though. They've already created this world.
I only want to make one movie.
Yeah. But the problem with it is the world's already been established. So basically, you can't really change up the likeness of Batman and Superman if they've already been created and just inject them into like the Suicide Squad tone, because it just wouldn't fit. It'd feel like it's out of continuity. You know what I mean? So what they're going to have to do is carefully inject them into movie. Well, they can't do it because Suicide Squad is basically a standalone at this point.
Well, it's only been 2 movies, so it's not like Marvel where they're like 15 films deep.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's only been 2 movies. They can, and I mean, not make a drastic change, make like a slight course correction, on this new movie, on like Justice League or whatever. Because I'm gonna be honest, somebody messed up Batman v Superman, and there is no way. During the films, because they watch dailies, there is no way, as they were watching these dailies, that they thought they were making a good movie. No way.
There's about 20 minutes of footage that a lot of the fans don't realize has basically been cut because they needed more room in the theaters. And that footage is going to basically, explain a lot more of the concepts in the movie that should have been in the theatrical release.
But it's not going to make the characterization of Superman and Batman different.
Well, there's one thing I would say that actually gives Superman a little bit more to work with. Superman initially had some scenes in the court. He actually spoke about hope. And they took that out of the movie. And that was one of the things that was like a nail in the coffin for me that dropped my score from an 8 to a 6.5. But I'm hoping on the DVD cut you'll be able to see that, because that was like the only glimpse of Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman, when you get out of the movie, is him basically explaining why he does this in the court before the courtroom blew up.
Yeah, speaking of BVS, I don't even know if I even scored that on my Letterboxd and stuff now. Because I just remember, you can ask Lisa. I left the theater. The first thing I said was, I've never been so disappointed by a movie that I was excited for.
Yeah, you know why? Because you've been waiting for it for 20 years. And expectations, it's impossible to like leave your expectations at the door when you waited for childhood for something like this, and then only when you get the movie, it's not great, it's not good, but just okay. With this movie, Batman vs. Superman had the potential to be great. It shouldn't have been okay. It should have been, it was alright. It should have been more than that. And I was already kind of worried when Zack Snyder actually came back because Man of Steel was so divisive. But, you know, at the end of the day, they did the best they could with Batman, even though they made him a serial killer. And, you know, it was nice.
I'm not even mad at that because I'm not mad at that because Batman was killed multiple times in the film.
Oh, yeah, like the Keaton one, you can go back and he killed like 72 people.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's just bandwagon piling on. Like, what do you think happens when he lets go of the dude and he falls down? What you think? He lands on a balloon?
No, he lands on a pillow. Imaginary pillow, bro.
Like, so it's like that stuff. That stuff never bothered.
Yeah.
Like my issue was that was not Superman. Mm-hmm. That was not. Well, that was sort of Batman, but Batman's smarter than that. And they didn't play Batman as smart as I believe.
Actually, that's why you need to watch Suicide Squad because I have a feeling that movies moving forward in the DC universe is basically going to actually tie up the gaps from the first movie. Like, for an example, Man of Steel basically, Batman vs. Superman kind of ties up some of the plot points that was actually presented in Man of Steel, whereas Suicide Squad, spoilers, but there's some flashback scenes in Suicide Squad you're going to check out, and basically explain why this Batman kills now, because of some shit that happens with him and the Joker and Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Well, that's not really like a spoiler. That was something that's expected. Like, I mean, they even hint to that. You know what I'm saying? Like when him and what's the boy's name? Alfred are talking about like how he used to be when he was younger, and he makes that statement of "we were always criminals."
Yeah,
so, like,
that's true.
You know, so like they already hinted that. That's not like a big thing. My issue is like you look at the Russos, man. It's like, yo, you don't. It's kind of like I was talking about this guy when I was sitting right beside him in the X-Men joint. Because I only went to see that because I had Fandango credit. Mm-hmm. But I was like, the issue isn't following the comic books. You don't have give me a good movie. This wasn't a good movie. You had a 30% good movie. Everything with Magneto before he met Apocalypse was good. Even the stuff with Storm was kind of like, I'm not a fan of starting Storm off with Apocalypse. I'm just not. But that's just how it's got to be because it's Bryan Singer's X-Men. There's a dude that like doesn't really know the X-Men. He kind of, you know, he liked the animated series, but he doesn't really.
Yeah, it seems like he got most of his inspiration from the cartoons. To be honest with you, because obviously there's no lore in the comic books. Any kind of cues taken from the comics.
He never even portrays them like they were in the cartoon. So it's like, I think that's just some BS stuff he said when he was being interviewed one time. Because I'm like, if that was your true inspiration, why did you not portray Cyclops or Storm the way that they were in the comic book? Not even near.
I'm actually just actually this one is the closest. Because I used to read Storm growing up. She actually was like a street rat from Aladdin. She basically lived in Africa, and they kind of portrayed her the way she should have been portrayed in this movie, even though I wish they would have gave her more to work with. And she had the accent. Shout out to the actress for that, because I was so happy to see the actress basically do her thing with what she had, even though I wanted to see more of her. She was probably one of my favorite parts. You know who wasn't actually portrayed in the light? Jubilee. Jubilee. Why did he even bring her into the freaking fold again? Like, they keep giving me blue ball. I love Jubilee, but she never has any lines or even show her power. And Bryan Singer keep on playing with our emotions with her. I hate it.
She was never important in the first place.
I know, but I remember her from the cartoon. I just want, if you're going to have her, at least have her have some lines or show her power. Don't just basically shoehorn her in, get people excited for her, even have her in a trailer, and then just take her out. That's one of the things I didn't like. Because like her scene was in the mall, and like they show her basically playing with her like her little glare power thing while she's listening to Taylor Swift, aka the Dazzler, and you're not gonna be able to see that until the DVD cut. So yeah,
yeah, don't even get me started on that. But yeah, When can you? Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, we shouldn't even be talking right now because all this could have been recorded. We could have had like dropped this on YouTube like 2 minutes ago. But stop talking about this stuff because we're gonna I'm gonna call you tomorrow, or better yet, call me tomorrow. We'll set something up. We're just gonna record like a conversation on just our thoughts on comic book movies and just movies in general for 2016 so far, and then we're gonna upload that shit. I'll send you the clip. You do your thing. We're gonna have it on your channel, my channel. We're gonna cross promote and. Yeah, this was a fun conversation.
Do like a
look, we did all this in 30 minutes. Let's just imagine what we can do in 15.
All right, cool. Yeah, we can do 2 15-minute segments and then split it up.
All right, I'm going to go get me something to eat. I'll talk to you later, bro.
Okay, peace.
Peace.